I think burnout finally broke me. I'm pretty sure I disappeared for about a month, maybe a bit longer than that. But honestly, I think I really needed to. I didn't plan to disappear. I didn't make some dramatic decision to quit YouTube or social media or writing. Definitely not that. I think what actually happened is that my brain and my heart just quietly reached their limit at the same time. At the end of March, I finished a really intense book project. I completely revised the first two books in my series. You can see me here gesticulating very, very wildly at this board in front of us. And that's because this whiteboard held the actual project itself. My goal was to take books 1 and 2 and make them the very best versions of themselves that they could be, but I wanted to do it as efficiently as possible. And so what that meant was me disappearing into my office for hours at a time, revising scene after scene after scene, and I'm finally done. And usually after a big project like that, I expected to feel relieved, but this time I just felt empty, completely exhausted and emotionally flat, and honestly kind of disconnected from everything. And around that same time, I read a book that completely shattered me. It was rooted in human trafficking and slavery, and learning how much of that exists here in Australia, which, that's not somewhere far away. It's not in some vague, distant country, but it's here. It genuinely broke my heart. And I know people online say things like, this book destroyed me, all the time. But I mean, it literally changed the way I was moving through the world for a while. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't stop thinking about how helpless it made me feel. I couldn't stop thinking about all the things I wanted to do to try and change this reality in any way that I could. Because once you become aware of something horrible, there's this period afterwards where you realize that the world just keeps moving anyway. People still go to work, people still make content, people post Instagram stories and buy groceries and live their lives. But meanwhile, while that's happening, I'm just sitting there thinking, how is this real? And I think part of me just shut down for a while. I was burnt out. It wasn't like a dramatic burnout though. I wasn't crying on the floor or hugging myself in the corner or unable to get out of bed. It was just the slow, quiet kind of burnout where I could still get up and look after my kids and do my work, but everything just felt heavier than it should have felt. Doing the things I loved actually started to feel difficult. Replying to messages felt difficult. Opening my laptop felt exhausting. And even just trying to come up with plot lines for my latest book, that felt really, really hard. So I disappeared. Not because I stopped caring, but because I think I really needed the break. And over the last month, I've been thinking a lot about failure. Not like the dramatic kind of failure, but the kind that we address here on my channel. Quiet kind of failure where no one really knows you're struggling. Because technically you're still functioning, right? You're still making dinner, still doing the school runs, still answering questions, still surviving. But inside, something's off. And I'm pretty sure I spent most of my adult life trying to push through those moments instead of listening to them. Trying to outwork the exhaustion and outwork the sadness and the disappointments. If I just kept moving fast enough, eventually I'd outrun the feeling. But it turns out that's not how humans work. So this time I listened, and I'm actually really grateful that I did, because over the last few weeks, something's finally started coming back. Not like an intense amount of motivation or productivity, but just fun and joy and excitement. I finally started to feel those things again. A big part of that happening for me was accepting that I do truly need to do something about the information that I learned about the world. And so for me, what that meant was putting my time toward a charity that deals specifically with victims who have been rescued from human trafficking. And that really helped, just knowing that I'm putting my time towards something that I care about. Even if I'm not able to stop the problem from happening, at least what I can do is take care of the people who have been through something so horrible. Doing that and taking the time away that I needed meant that I was able to start thinking about stories again, about my characters and the small town that I want to build, about tension and chemistry and a lot of different types of emotional chaos and all the things that I love about romance novels. And for the first time in a while, creating started sounding exciting again instead of exhausting. So this is me starting over again, not perfectly. And not with some like magical life transformation. I mean, you can see me here in my sweats, so you know what's up, babe. Like, we don't, do things in the most polished of ways. But what we do is we're gonna do this quietly with one project at a time. And the next project is book 4, which is exciting and terrifying because, like, this book matters a lot to me. It's kind of like a bridge. It opens the door into an entirely new series that I've been dreaming about for a long time. And I think because of that, I want to do this one differently. I don't want to disappear into a cave and emerge like 2 years later holding a finished book like some exhausted goblin author. Although we all know that I'm a bit of a hobbit over here. But I want to build this one with you. I want you to see the planning and the world building and the character creation, the breakdowns and like the rewrites and the moments where I think I'm doing okay for maybe 6 minutes before I realized I've like created another plot hole. I want this channel to become a place where you can actually watch a story come to life from the very beginning, as well as watch me try and pull myself out of this failure rut that I've been in for, God, I think the last 2 years maybe. I want us to create the town together. We're going to do character art. We're going to do votes on covers. I want readers like involved in the process this time because I think that books become even more magical when people feel emotionally connected to how they're built. And behind the scenes, I've also been like trying to rebuild the business side of this dream too. I've been quietly putting plans together and trying new marketing ideas and taking risks that honestly scare the crap out of me because even after all this, I still believe I can build something meaningful with these books. And maybe that sounds delusional because it probably is, but I think every creative person has to be at least a little slightly delusional to keep going. And maybe that's what this channel really is. It's not a success story, not yet anyway. But it's just a story about continuing and about rebuilding yourself over and over again and trying again after disappointment. Because I want to make beautiful things while this life is still messy, because it's its own kind of beauty. And I think there's something hopeful in that. So if you're still here after my accidental month-long disappearance, thank you. Seriously, thank you. Thank you for waiting for me and for caring about the books. And thank you for caring about this weird little dream of mine. I'm really excited to create again, and I'm excited to write again. I'm excited to talk to you again. And for the first time in a while, I'm excited to let people see the process, no matter how messy it gets. So, welcome back, love. We're starting over.